The Taliban has captured a key city near the capital of Afghanistan and continues to advance in the region. The city of Ghazni is the 10th provincial capital in the country to fall to the extremist group. The conflict in Afghanistan has escalated significantly in recent months after U.S. forces began withdrawing entirely from the region. Roxana Saberi is in Kabul with the latest.
A local official tells CBS News the Taliban have captured the city of Ghazni. That's only about 90 miles southwest of us, here in the capital, Kabul. Ghazni is the 10th provincial capital to fall to the Taliban in only a week. Most have been in the north, but a few have been in the south and west. The insurgents' rapid victories are cutting off cities under government control and overwhelming Afghan forces. Today, the U.S. Embassy said the Taliban could be committing war crimes. In the city of Farah, a video appears to show the Taliban dragging the dead body of an Afghan security force member through the city, shouting, "God is great." And elsewhere, the Taliban are showing off Humvees and weapons they've seized from Afghan forces. The fighting has forced hundreds of thousands of people to flee in recent months. Many are coming to Kabul seeking safety. They've left behind their homes, their belongings, and even loved ones killed in the fighting. And now they say there's nowhere else to go. Here in Kabul, life appears to be carrying on more or less as usual, but for how long is uncertain. This would be the biggest prize for the Taliban, and the latest U.S. military assessment says it could come under attack in as little as 30 days. Vlad and Anne-Marie.
All right, Roxana, thank you very much.
So for more on this, let's bring in Christina Goldbaum. She is a New York Times correspondent in Afghanistan. Christina, thanks for joining us. First off, what does the loss of Ghazni mean for the Afghan government forces?
So Ghazni is a city that's kind of just south of Kabul. So I think what we're going to begin to see in the coming days is other southern cities also falling to the Taliban. And what that means is that the Taliban will have a much easier access to launch attacks on Kabul. We've seen over the past week, first northern cities fall under Taliban control. Right now, two major cities in the south, Lashkar and Kandahar, are also on the brink of falling to the Taliban. So with Ghazni, and if both of those cities also fall in the coming days, the Taliban will have essentially gained control of the entire southern region of Afghanistan and will be nearing, gaining control of the entire north as well. And once that happens, it is only a matter of time until Taliban also moves in on the capital, Kabul.
So, I mean, it's pretty frightening when you consider all that you've reported and what we just heard from Roxana. So how soon could the Taliban be in Kabul? I think earlier this morning when we spoke to Roxana, she said it's possible in 30 days. Is there anything that could potentially stop them?
So that is the latest assessment, is that it could happen within a matter of weeks, within 30 days. I think what many people right now are waiting to see is whether government forces begin to regroup and try to take back any of these major cities that have fallen. But so far over the past week, we haven't seen that happening. What we're hearing from Afghan commandos is that they are exhausted. Many have turned over their arms to the Taliban after cities are overrun. And despite promises that, Afghan forces would try to retake those areas, try to hold some other areas, we haven't seen any of that happen. And so I think that's giving people, especially here in the capital, the sense that we aren't going to see the government trying to retake any areas. And if they don't do that, then again, Kabul is incredibly vulnerable. Herat in the east, another major city, is coming under siege and could fall within a matter of days. I think what we could see within the next couple of days or weeks is every other major city, major provincial capital fall under Taliban control. And then truly, there's assessments that it could be a matter of weeks before the Taliban arrive in Kabul. Feel quite accurate. They will have encircled the capital. And we're not seeing, government forces or even, government leaders really saying that, they're putting up a fight to protect the capital after that happens.
So then talk to us about the humanitarian situation there. What are the concerns?
Since the Taliban began this offensive in May, we've seen around 330,000 people displaced from their homes. At first, as they were moving through rural areas, many people were fleeing into these provincial capitals that have since come under siege. That means that in those cities, a lot of civilians are getting caught in the crossfire. They're essentially trapped between fighting in the street, between government forces and Taliban fighters, and airstrikes from the sky. Many people who have been wounded can't even make it to the hospital. Now, as cities are falling, falling, we're seeing an influx of thousands of people coming to Kabul. Some have set up camps, kind of these makeshift camps within the city. Many others are staying with relatives. I spoke with someone who was hosting 36 relatives in his, one-bedroom apartment, having to provide for all of them, even though food prices have been soaring. So what we're seeing is the beginning of a massive humanitarian crisis unfold here. Tens of thousands of others have left every week through illegal means into Iran and other neighboring countries, and many others are trying to leave the country altogether, but they have no options. The passport office is overwhelmed. Embassies issuing visas are overwhelmed. So I think a lot of people are feeling trapped, in Afghanistan today and feeling very abandoned by the international community.
So we know, and this is something we've spoken to our own correspondents about, Christina, that the United States has spent, millions, billions of dollars in providing material and providing weapons, in providing support with logistics, and yet the minute that, we start to pull out, which, as Weijia Jiang, our White House correspondent, pointed out, it was a policy of not just this administration, but the previous one. It seems as if you're watching this at home and you're trying to understand how we could spend nearly 20 years there and provide all of that material to the Afghans, how this could be happening so quickly. Can you help our viewers understand that?
Yeah, I think that's the question, that everyone is asking right now, is how is this happening as quickly as it is? And it's a complicated answer. I think that in DC, folks had overestimated the capabilities of, the Afghan security forces. There's also, obviously over the past 20 years, been a lot of corruption within Afghanistan as well, questions about where, a lot of those billions of dollars have gone. But I think what we're also seeing is, here is a military that has been, trained and propped up by the U.S. over the last 20 years. This is really the first time that we're seeing, any military that the U.S. has trained in that way left completely on their own without, really any American support except for, some airstrikes in the South. And we've seen that military completely collapse over the last 4 months. So in terms of why this is happening so quickly, I think, a lot of people have been overestimating their capabilities. I think a lot of Afghan leaders didn't think that the U.S. would leave either this soon or to pull out all of their resources so quickly as well. So I think the manner in which, the withdrawal has happened has also affected some of this. And again, this is within 4 months, the Taliban has taken over half of the country's districts. They're collapsing cities at a breakneck pace right now. And, we'll be moving in on the capital within the coming weeks.
And I should just say, and it's something that we talked about yesterday, Christina and Anne-Marie, the reality is you made an excellent point, Christina, which is that perhaps folks in Washington, D.C. did not realize just how incapable, perhaps, and maybe that's too strong of a word, but the Afghan military was going to be in the face of this very determined enemy. And I will point out again, as we have been, that the United States still has military installations in Germany, still has military installations in Japan, and still has them in South Korea. And the reason for that is because there was never a sense in all the years following World War II. It's not to suggest that Germany is not perfectly capable of handling itself now, but there was a very long and protracted effort to ensure a robust democracy in those nations. And so I know for a lot of people, 20 years seems like a long time, but when you look at the other installations and the other support of those countries that I mentioned, it's not that long, actually.
I would say that, so I'm going to provide a counter argument, and Christina, you know more about the situation there than I do, but it appears as if it's the removal of the air support that has helped to cripple the Afghan forces. And even though they're very well trained and they have a lot of other equipment, they don't have very much in terms of planes. And so it seems like it shouldn't be that surprising that they don't have the ability right now to fight off the Taliban. I don't know. What's your take on that, Christine?
I mean, I think that's definitely contributed to this. And like, for example, in the north, the U.S. doesn't have the same capabilities right now to carry out airstrikes because they don't have, as great of intelligence as they do in the south. But even for the Afghan Air Force itself, the loss of contractors that are helping, maintain the aircrafts that they have here has also been, a huge hit to those pilots. So I think, that definitely has contributed to all of this, but you can't just consider airstrikes without also considering the fact that, so many, kind of ground forces you surrendered to the Taliban or fled the country completely, that, this entire fight over the last 4 months has essentially fallen on these commandos who have had to hold territory, retake areas, fend off the Taliban, besieging these capital cities, and they are now completely exhausted. And you don't have any real political leadership here as well. I mean, President Ghani has been silent as all of these capitals have fallen. So if you're a commando on the ground, you're asking yourself, who am I really fighting for right now? And kind of all of that coming together, I think, is why we're seeing all of this happen so quickly.
That's right. I'm sorry, to what Vlad said about sort of a purposeful effort in building up a strong democracy, do you think that also plays a role?
I mean, we're going to see, in the next couple of weeks and couple months and years, is a lot of those gains being lost, in urban areas and rural areas that the Taliban has taken over. We've already started to see women not be able to leave their house without a man accompanying them, younger women not being able to go to school. It's hard not to feel like this is the reversal of 20 years of so-called state building in the course of 4 months.
It's frightening, it's heartbreaking, and I can not only imagine what it's like for people facing the Taliban, innocent civilians who are facing the advancing threat of the Taliban, but also, let's face it, the soldiers and the sailors and Marines and airmen and our coalition forces who have, sweat and bled and in many cases died in trying to bring some semblance of stability to Afghanistan. To see it all sort of evaporate like it has been over the last couple of years, Christina, it's really heartbreaking. And I don't really know what the answer is. I mean, because it's clear that, the president is said on the record that he does not regret his decision. And so we'll just have to see how this plays out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add that, again, here on the ground in Afghanistan, a lot of people feel a real sense, I think, of betrayal by the U.S. Women in particular, seeing, how quickly all of this has happened, the way in which the U.S. has withdrawn. There is a real sense of fear, of panic, and also, again, that sense of betrayal by the Americans as well.
And let's not forget our history, specifically within Afghanistan. The United States heavily involved there in the late 1970s and the early 1980s after Russia invaded Afghanistan. And what happened, again, when that vacuum was created, when the United States stopped providing, well, they left the weapons there, which we now know how that came back to bite us in the rear. But, whenever you create that vacuum, bad things happen. And it's unclear what those things are going to be, but it doesn't look good from where we're sitting right now. Christina, thank you so much. You're on the ground there in Afghanistan for the New York Times. Thanks for spending some time with us. We appreciate it.